When we want to change our lives, we usually think we need to do more. More goals, more plans, more studying, more effort, more habits. We believe that because life has become complicated, we need to solve that complexity with even more things. So one day, we make up our mind and open a fresh notebook. We think, this year has to be different. This month, I really need to change. And then we start writing down everything. I need to improve my health. I need to make more money. I need to change my career. I need to read more books. I need to start exercising again. I need to break bad habits. I need to learn a new skill. I need to become a better person for my family. At first, all of this feels possible. When we create a plan, it almost feels like our life has already changed. When we write down our goals, it feels like we have already become a new person. When we make a checklist, it feels like this time we really can become different. But after a few days, something strange happens. The number of goals has increased, but our mind feels heavier. We wrote down everything we need to do, but now we do not know where to begin. The plan we created to change our life slowly becomes another burden, and at some point, we return to the familiar place. A day where we are busy, but do not do what truly matters. A day where we make effort, but our life does not really change. A day where we seem to be moving, but somehow keep circling the same place. Have you ever felt that way? From morning to night, you clearly did many things. You replied to messages, you checked emails, you attended meetings, you handled chores, you solved many small problems. But at the end of the day, there is still a quiet feeling inside. I still did not do the thing that truly mattered today. I was busy. That feeling is very familiar. We often confuse busyness with progress. We confuse movement with growth. We confuse a longer to-do list with a sign that our life is getting organized. But what actually changes a life is not always more movement. Sometimes what changes a life is one precise movement. The book we are talking about today, The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan, begins exactly from this point. It asks us a very simple but powerful question. Do you really need to do more? Or have you not yet chosen the one thing that matters most? The core message of this book is simple. Extraordinary results are not created by trying to do everything well. They are created by focusing deeply on the one thing that matters most. When we look at successful people, we often think like this. That person must have done so many things. That person must have incredible willpower. That person must use time in a special way. That person must have far more ability than I do. And maybe some of that is true. But the one thing offers a different perspective. Maybe the reason they created extraordinary results was not because they did everything well at the same time. Maybe it was because at some point they chose the most important thing, and that one thing pulled the other results forward. The central question of the book is this: what is the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? This question sounds simple, but when we actually ask it in our own life, it is not simple at all. Because this question does not simply tell us to work harder, do more, or become busier. It asks the opposite. Do you really need to do all of it? Is everything truly important? Do you really need to hold on to all of these things at the same time? The reason we get tired in life is not always because we lack ability. Sometimes it is because we are holding too many things at once. It is because we are pulling ourselves in too many directions. We want to become healthier. We want to make more money. We want to become better people for our families. All of these desires are meaningful. But just because everything is meaningful does not mean we have to start everything today. The core message of The One Thing is this: success does not come from treating everything as equally important. Success comes from treating the most important thing as the most important thing. This sounds obvious, but in real life, we often do the opposite. We handle urgent things before important things. We respond to other people's requests before we protect the direction of our own life. We react to notifications and messages while pushing back the work that truly matters. We complete many small tasks and use that feeling to cover the discomfort of not doing the important one. We think we are handling what needs to be done, but in many cases, We are continuing to postpone what truly matters. Busyness gives us a sense of comfort, the feeling that we are doing something, the feeling that we are not standing still, the feeling that we are making an effort. But busyness is not always progress. Sometimes busyness is avoidance. It is filling the day with less important tasks so we do not have to face the thing that truly matters. The most important thing is often uncomfortable. It is hard to begin. There's a chance we might fail. It makes us face our own limitations. It shows us the distance between the life we truly want and the life we are living now. So we postpone it. Instead, we check email. We clean the desk. We make another plan. We search for more information. But the one thing asks us, what if the thing you are avoiding right now is actually your one thing? That question makes us uncomfortable, but that is exactly why it matters. Questions that change our lives often make us a little uncomfortable because they make us look again at something we already know but have been avoiding. The one thing uses the image of a domino. When one small domino falls, the next domino falls, then the next one, and the next one. At first, the movement looks small, but eventually it creates a much larger movement. Our lives can work the same way. Some actions end with themselves, but some actions make other actions easier. Some changes affect only one area, but some changes begin to move many areas of life together. That is the first domino. For example, for one person, the first domino might be sleep. When you do not sleep well, your whole day becomes blurry. Your thinking slows down. Your emotions become more unstable. Your appetite changes. You lose the energy to exercise. It becomes harder to focus at work. Small problems feel much bigger than they are. For this person, the one thing may not be creating more plans. It may be recovering sleep first. When sleep improves, the body feels a little better. When the body feels better, emotions become a little more stable. When emotions become more stable, judgment becomes clearer. When judgment becomes clearer, the next action becomes easier. At first, it may look like they're simply sleeping better, but in reality, sleep may have been the first domino for their entire life. For another person, the first domino might be writing. Problems that stay only inside the mind often become bigger. Thoughts repeat, emotions mix together, fear expands without a clear shape. But when we write things down, something changes. A problem becomes a sentence. A sentence sits in front of us, and once it is in front of us, at least we can look at it. And a problem we can look at is a problem we can slowly begin to deal with. Even writing one honest sentence a day can make a vague life feel a little clearer. For another person, the first domino might be learning, studying one field for 30 minutes a day, finishing one book, repeating one skill for a month, finding one idea that could change the direction of your life. That small act of learning can change the options available in the future. Now let's pause for a moment. If this message is resonating with you, please also remember RebootLifeNow.com. Reboot Life Now is a space for people who want to change their lives by writing down their real problems, choosing the one thing that matters most, and beginning again through small actions. You can find more stories and a 12-week life change program at RebootLifeNow.com. Now, let's return to the one thing. The important point is this. The first domino does not have to be huge, but it does have to matter. Something small but important. Something simple but repeatable. Something you can start today, but if repeated, can begin to move other parts of your life. That is your one thing. But we often do the opposite. Before we find the most important thing, we increase the number of things we need to do. The more stuck we feel, the more goals we create. The more anxious we feel, the more plans we make. The less clear our direction is, the busier we try to become. As a result, we become more and more scattered. The one thing breaks through this scattered way of living. The book says, not everything matters equally. This sentence is simple, but powerful. When we write a to-do list, every item often appears to have the same size. Reply to emails, clean the room, exercise, learn a new skill, plan a business, read a book, make a doctor's appointment, talk with family, start an important project for the future. On paper, they all sit on the same kind of line, but in life, these tasks do not carry the same weight. Some things make life a little inconvenient if we do not do them. Some things change the future if we do not do them. Some things organize today's mood. Some things change the direction of the years ahead. Some things satisfy other people's expectations. Some things restore a promise we made to ourselves. Not everything has the same weight. And yet, we often do the easy things first. Things that are easy to finish. Things that are easy to check off. Things that are not uncomfortable. Things that have a low chance of failure. Things that make us look busy to other people. And the most important thing gets pushed back. When this repeats, we do not understand why we spent so many days doing many things, but our life has not changed very much. But the reason may be simple. We did many things, but we did not do the most important thing. The one thing makes us face this truth. If we want extraordinary results, we need to separate what matters before we increase what we do. What truly matters? What creates the biggest impact? What is the first domino? What will make other things easier? What, if ignored, will cause all other efforts to remain scattered? If we avoid these questions, we can stay busy, but we will also stay scattered. One of the major beliefs the book challenges is multitasking. We often think we can get more done by doing several things at once. We work while checking messages. We study while playing a video in the background. We think while checking email. We look at other materials during a meeting. Even while exercising, we keep checking notifications. On the surface, it looks efficient, but in reality, our attention keeps getting interrupted. Before we go deeply into one task, another stimulus enters. Before our thinking becomes deep enough, we are pulled back to the surface. We lose the time needed to hold an important problem in our mind. Multitasking looks like the ability to do many things at the same time, but in many cases it is closer to a habit of constantly losing focus. We feel like we are doing things at the same time, but what we are really doing is switching again and again, and switching has a cost. It takes energy to focus again. It takes time to return to the previous thought. Before we enter a deep flow, another interruption appears. So at the end of the day, we feel tired, but we may not have done anything deeply. The one thing asks us, can you really do the work that matters while holding on to everything else at the same time? In most cases, the answer is no. Important work requires focus. Deep work requires protected time. The work that changes a life cannot be done with leftover attention. Another belief the book questions is the idea that everything must always be balanced. Balance sounds beautiful, doing well at work, taking care of health, having perfect relationships, making money, having a calm mind, keeping the house clean, growing every day, always having enough space and peace. Of course, anyone can want that kind of life. But real life does not always allow perfect balance. In some seasons, we need to focus more on one area. In some seasons, we need to reduce energy in another area. In some seasons, recovery comes first. In other seasons, challenge comes first. In some seasons, family may come first. In others, building your own future may need to come first. The problem is not balance itself. The problem is the pressure to keep everything at the same intensity all the time. That pressure exhausts us. From the perspective of the one thing, there are times when we need to focus on what matters most. But this does not mean we should ignore everything else. It does not mean life should have only one thing. A wiser way to understand it is this: decide what the main focus of this season is. Give enough energy to that focus and manage the rest so it does not fall apart. Life needs conscious choice more than perfect balance. Some things need to be pushed forward now. Some things only need to be maintained. Some things can be placed down for a while. Some things can be returned to later. This is not giving up. This is choosing. We cannot do everything at the highest level at the same time, but we can do our best with what matters most right now. Understanding this difference is important. Another important concept is willpower. We often believe that if we have strong willpower, we can do anything. But the one thing does not treat willpower as an unlimited resource. Willpower does not stay at the same level all day. In the morning, we may have a certain amount of strength, but as the day goes on, decisions pile up, fatigue builds, stress increases, and willpower can become weaker. That is why it can be dangerous to leave the most important work until the end of the day. Saying, "I will do the important thing when everything else is done," may actually mean this: I will give the most important work to the most exhausted version of myself. And when that happens, we often fail. Then we blame ourselves. Why is my willpower so weak? But the problem may not simply be weak willpower. The important work may have been placed too late. We may have given the most important work to the most tired version of ourselves. We may have tried to change our life after all our energy was already gone. Important work should not be done only with leftover time. Important work needs to receive time first. One practice the book emphasizes is time blocking. It means blocking time first for the work that matters. We often say things like this: when I have time, I will exercise. When I have time, I will study. When I have time, I will write. When I have time, I will organize my life. When I have time, I will begin again. But time does not simply appear. Time is not something that remains. Time is something we protect. Important things do not fit naturally into leftover time. Important things need to be given a place first. They need to be placed on the calendar. They need to enter the first block of the day. They need to be protected before your energy is completely drained. So the question changes again. What is my one thing, and when will I do it? It is not about doing it when time appears. It is about giving time to it first. It can be 20 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, it can be one sentence a day. What matters is that it enters real time. A goal that exists only in your mind does not change your life. An action placed on your calendar can. This is where many people make a mistake. They write down the goal, but they do not give it time. They write, I need to exercise, but they do not leave time for exercise. They write, I need to read, but they do not protect time to open the book. They say, I want to start a business, but they do not create a fixed time each week to think about the business. They say, I want to write, but they spend more time thinking about writing than actually writing. Then the goal remains only in the mind. And goals that remain only in the mind do not always encourage us. Sometimes they accuse us. You still have not started. You are postponing again. You have not changed this time either. But the problem is not that we do not have goals. The problem is that the goal has not been translated into time. The one thing asks us to make that translation, from purpose to priority, from priority to time to action, from action to habit, from habit to results. When this flow is created, life begins to move little by little. Another important flow in the book is purpose, priority, and productivity. We usually think about productivity first. How can I do more? How can I do it faster? How can I live more efficiently? But the deeper question is this: why am I doing it? Without purpose, productivity becomes speed without direction. You move quickly, but you do not know where you are going. You work hard, but the reason becomes unclear. You may create results, but still feel empty inside. Purpose gives direction, and when there is purpose, priority becomes clearer. You begin to know what comes first. You begin to know what can be placed down. You begin to know what deserves your time. When priority becomes clear, productivity is no longer just a technique for doing more. It becomes the power to actually do what matters. Productivity without purpose can become busyness. Productivity without priority can become distraction. But productivity with purpose and priority can become a force that moves your life. That is why the question from the one thing is not just a question about work efficiency. It is a question about the direction of life. What kind of life do I truly want? For that life, what matters most right now? And for that important thing, what is the one thing I can do today? When these three questions connect, we become a little more honest. We begin to separate what other people say is important from what is truly important to us. We begin to separate the busyness the world demands from the action our own life is asking for. This matters because modern life constantly pulls us apart. Notifications keep ringing, information keeps coming in. There is no end to comparison. New methods, new trends, and new opportunities appear again and again. We feel like we might be missing something. So we watch more, we save more, we plan more, we start more. But starting more does not mean finishing more. In fact, when we start too many things, nothing may become deep. The one thing says something very uncomfortable for this age. Do less. But it does not mean simply do less. It means do less, but do what matters more. Be less scattered and go deeper. React less and choose more. Be less busy and be more precise. This is not easy because doing less requires courage. Choosing one thing means not choosing something else at the same time. Giving time to one thing means giving less time to another thing. Focusing on what matters means some less important things may remain unfinished for a while. So focus is not just a technique. Focus is an attitude. It is the attitude of knowing what truly matters in your life and protecting it. We often try to wait until everything is perfectly organized before doing important work. But that day does not come easily. Important work keeps getting pushed back if we wait for the perfect environment. Important work has to be protected. Even when there are interruptions, it has to be protected. Even when the day is not perfect, it has to be protected. Even when there are still other things to do, it has to be protected. That is the meaning of time blocking. It is not just writing time on a calendar. It is a declaration that you will treat what matters in your life as something that actually matters. Of course, when applying the one thing to real life, we need to be careful. Not everyone needs only one thing all the time. Life has many responsibilities. Health, family, work, money, relationships, and recovery are all connected. So we should not take the message of this book to an extreme. We should not say we will focus on one thing while destroying our health, damaging relationships, or ignoring basic responsibilities. The message of the book is not to ignore the rest of life. A more realistic way to understand it is this. What is the main focus of this season? What is the first domino I need to push? And when is the protected time for it today? When we understand it this way, the one thing becomes a powerful but balanced tool. It is not telling us to reduce our entire life into only one thing. It is telling us not to let the most important thing become unclear. It is telling us to step away from the pressure of doing everything well and actually do the thing that matters most. What we often lack in life may not be ability. What we lack may be clarity. Maybe we are not stuck because we do not know what to do. Maybe we are stuck because we have not decided what matters most. There are many things to do. But the fact that there are many things to do is not an excuse to avoid the most important thing. In fact, the more things there are to do, the more we need to ask. Among all of these things, what is the one thing right now? This question makes us simpler, and simplicity creates power. Scattered energy is weak. Gathered energy is strong. Scattered time disappears. Protected time creates results. A scattered mind feels anxious. An aligned mind begins to move. Your life may also have many problems. Health problems, money problems, career problems, relationship problems, emotional struggles, fear about the future, doubt about yourself. If you try to solve all of them at once, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. But you can change the question. Instead of trying to fix your whole life today, look for the first domino you need to push right now. Ask what that one thing is, and choose one very small action you can take today for that one thing. Your one thing does not have to be grand. It may be going to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight. It may be walking for 10 minutes in the morning. It may be opening the document you have been postponing. It may be writing the first sentence. It may be contacting one person. It may be looking at your spending. It may be reading one page of a book. It may be putting your phone away and focusing for 20 minutes. It may look small, but the question is not about size. Does this action make the next action easier? Is this action connected to an important direction in my life? If I repeat this action, will other things slowly begin to move? If the answer is yes, then even if it is small, it matters. The message of the one thing can be summarized like this. Before trying to do more, find what matters most. Before trying to change everything at once, find the first domino. Do not wait for leftover time to do important work. Protect time first for what matters. Do not confuse busyness with success. Create results through focus. And this message gives us a very realistic kind of comfort. You do not have to do everything. You do not have to prove your entire life today. You do not need to succeed at dozens of goals at the same time. What you need is to honestly face the one thing that matters most right now, and then give it a small amount of time today. The person who changes their life may not always be the person who does more. Maybe the person who changes their life is the one who stops one day and asks, what truly matters to me right now? And what is one thing I can do for it today? If your day feels too complicated, before creating more plans, write down this one question. What is the one thing I can do? such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary. And when an answer comes, make it small. Small enough that you cannot easily make excuses. Small enough that you can begin today. Small enough to seem simple, but powerful enough to take you somewhere different if repeated. That is today's one thing. But there is one last thing to remember. Your one thing does not have to be a perfect answer. Sometimes we stop again because we try too hard to find the perfect one. Is this really my one thing? Should I focus on health first or my career first? Should I organize my money first or recover my mind first? What if I choose wrong? But you do not need to find the perfect answer from the beginning. What matters is choosing the most honest one based on your life right now. What is most often breaking me down right now? What, if changed, would make the other areas of my life easier? What am I avoiding, even though deep down I know I need to face it first? Choose the most honest answer to that question and experiment with it for a period of time. You are not choosing the final answer for your entire life. You are choosing the center of the season. Thinking this way can reduce the pressure. You do not need to define your whole life in one sentence. You only need to choose the one thing that will move this season, and then create time for it today. We often worry about the entire future so much that we lose today's 20 minutes. But life changes only through the 20 minutes we actually live today. Sometimes the 20 minutes you protect today are stronger than the 10-year plan inside your head. Sometimes the small action you finish today is more honest than the perfect dream you keep imagining. So the question you need today is this: what is the one thing I can do right now? What is the one thing that will make everything else a little easier? And once you choose that one thing, bring it down to the next question. When will I do it? What time today? Where will I do it? How small can I make the beginning? If I get interrupted, how will I return? The question has to come down into time. Time has to come down into action. Action has to be repeated. Repetition has to become evidence. Evidence has to become self-trust. And when self-trust grows, you can choose a bigger one thing again. The one thing is not a book that tells us to give up everything and do only one thing. Instead, it is a book that brings us back to what matters most when we are scattered across too many things. If you want to change your life, do not begin by looking for more things to do. First, find the one thing. Do not try to solve everything today. Find today's first domino and quietly push it. Sometimes life begins to move again that way. You are not someone who has to do everything. You are someone who can choose the most important thing today. And one day, that one thing may change your entire life. You do not have to change your whole life today. Today, one thing is enough. If today's message was meaningful to you, please visit RebootLifeNow.com to discover more stories and experience our 12-week Life Change program. And when you are there, we would love to hear your story too. We will see you at RebootLifeNow.com.